basketball can be a mysterious sport.
The team whose logo is in this envelope will have the first pick in the NBA draft.
Watch James. Now wanted a timeout, but too late to get it. And 5 minutes go up on the clock. Overtime here in game one.
Will Giannis win a title in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform?
It's hard for me to say that, Jay, considering how loaded the Lakers are. I don't know if you've been watching Taylor Horton Tucker over the last couple of days.
But what if those mysteries could be solved? What if those conspiracies are reality? The hoop truth is out there. Can you handle it? Welcome back to the Hoop Truther podcast. I'm Agu at _Gucifer. Joining me, as always, the official co-host, the official fellow Hoop Truther, one of the hardest working men on Twitter, Nick Andre at Nick Andre ATR. How are you doing, brother?
I am great. Draymond will make his return tonight, so it'll be the first time Steph, Clay, and Draymond have been on the floor in, I think, over 1,000 days. Could you believe that? That's
right.
Crazy.
Beyond the weird 7 seconds on Clay Day when Dray just was there for the tip and they fouled so he would get out of the game, we had Clay Day. It was really fun. We have Dray Day today. We're going to get to that a little bit later, what you can look forward to in this episode. Team of the week, game of the week, like always. We're going to talk about Kyrie. He was in the arena yesterday and a lot of people are talking about it. Injury report, good news, bad news. Rumorville, we got a couple of fun rumors that we can talk about for the offseason. And then we'll finish off with the plug zone and some final thoughts. Let's get into it. The Hoop Truth is out there. Let's go find it. I got to get like a Ghostbusters remix of their commercial and do that in the podcast. So I'll focus on that next. I'll focus on that next time. Team of the week. Dre, you got somebody for me?
I don't know if this is going to be too easy or it's just the flat out obvious, but I got to go Sixers Nets, which occurred on March 10th. Obviously, going into the game, everyone anticipated it's technically not a Ben Simmons return. It was just Ben Simmons returning to the arena, and everyone was just expecting him to get heckled. But the biggest story was KD, Kyrie.
Seth Curry.
Yeah, Seth Curry. Everyone just basically dominating for Brooklyn. And as far as Philly, besides Embiid getting like damn near 20 free throws in the first half, Harden got locked up by Kyrie Irving, which Kyrie is not known as a defender, but on this particular night, he definitely did his job. I think he held Harden to about 1 for 7, 1 for 8 shooting. Harden shot, I think, 3 for 15 overall, which is just like flat out crazy to me. The Nets obviously won 129-100.
Beat them.
It was just a bad night in Philly. The fans were definitely sick of of the turmoil that was going on there. But shout out to the Brooklyn Nets, man. They definitely turned things around over the past few games.
100%. Yeah, Nets doing it without Simmons too, who, by the way, no update on him. We're not going to cover him in the injury report. When there's an update, that we'll talk about it if he plays. When he plays, we'll talk about it, all right? But playing great. Seth Curry's playing awesome for the Nets. And then for the Sixers, they got a taste of big game James from James Harden. 3 for 17, I think it was. 1 for 12 at the half. It's what happens, man. It's what happens. But, we'll see if you can turn it around. Let's my game of the week, Spurs on March 11th. Beat the Jazz by 2. Really good team, really good game. But it's not about that. It's the game that gave Greg Popovich the all-time coaching wins title.
Shout out to Pop.
Big shout out to Pop for all he's done in San Antonio. There's actually, I'm going to add that to the rumor. You want to just talk about it now, actually? We'll open with this. You see the rumor that Quinn Snyder is like a potential candidate to replace Popovich when he retires in San Antonio?
I didn't hear that, honestly. That's honestly very interesting. I was honestly always assuming that Tim Duncan would just be next man up.
Let me see if I can find that. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know. I was hoping if he was going to retire soon, I was hoping Becky would be around for it because that was
Definitely.
naturally her job, man. Um, Ime Udoka, who just went to the Celtics,
Mm-hmm.
um, would have been a great guy to have in San Antonio.
That's another thing as well. Like, you got to give credit to Pop, because Pop has created a lot of great coaches today. Whether it's Ime Udoka, I want to say he did Budenholzer. Was it Pop as well? I can't remember.
Budenholzer, yeah, he's there for. He's got a great tree. Sorry, I was looking for the thing. Apparently, Mark Stein reported that it's a potential option that Quinn Snyder's out there. But yeah, they've got a ton of people. Brett Brown is a Popovich
Brett
guy,
Brown.
and he was great for Philly. I don't know if Kenny Atkinson was. I'm not sure, but and then there's Ettore Messina, who is a Euro guy who was the assistant coach. The famous clip of him is you see Patty Mills is like in the huddle, and Popovich is okay. Who thinks that Patty's going to get his fifth foul if we keep him out there, And like everyone
Right.
voted for Patty so he could go back to the game, except for Ettore, and then he puts it up when he realizes everyone else is just to be part of it. That's Ettore Messina. He was rumored for he interviewed a bunch of head coaches. I think he's back in Europe now. But apparently Quinn Snyder, and I guess that makes sense. He's got a Popovichian style to him, and it'd be weird if Utah just lost their franchise coach, though. What do you think?
Yeah, it would be, but I don't know. I mean, honestly, if you're able to go into San Antonio and just be able to fill some shoes, like big shoes that Greg Popovich has built over the last quarter century. What I was saying was, I mean, it's honestly, I wouldn't be too mad if Quinn Snyder decides to leave Utah. I mean, even though Utah's a great team, they built such a great culture out there. You know what I'm saying? But whenever you're able to go into a great franchise like San Antonio, who's who has big shoes to fill as far as coaching wise, what Greg Popovich has done over the last quarter century, what I'm saying? In my opinion, you would go for that personally. Just try to rebuild that championship culture that they once built there.
Yeah, we'll see. And then you have to think if Quinn goes, maybe the whole thing falls apart. I think this is just a take. We don't have to visit it now. We'll visit it in a future episode. But a take that I have is that without some significant playoff success, things are going to get ugly in Utah this summer. And I don't mean to be super dramatic, but I think Donovan and Rudy are headed for a split. I know everyone talks about Donovan getting traded, but who's to say that Utah doesn't trade Rudy Gobert? I mean, there are teams in the league that value Rudy Gobert. I know that Twitter doesn't like him, but if they could get something for Rudy, you'd probably rather keep Donovan if you're going to start over on a team. But that team is old as well. Mike Conley is not ancient, but he's old. Everyone,
Bryce O'Neal.
Bojan Bogdanovic is close to 30, if not hitting it. Fucking their best one of their best bench players, Rudy Gay, is old, and then the young guy is Jordan Clarkson. Big shout out to Jordan Clarkson. But that'd be your core. Your core is Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell. If you can get Rudy Gobert to a team, I'm sure the Knicks are dumb enough to send stuff for him. Mitch Robinson and.
Honestly, if you're the Knicks, you make that happen.
Yeah, but the Knicks only want Donovan. I don't think they would talk about anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about Rudy. I think Rudy's kind of gotten a bad reputation, honestly. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest Rudy fan in the world, but you definitely have to respect his game.
Right, you don't have to, but he's a good player. He's won 3 DPOYs. Whether you agree with it or not, he was in the top 3 voting all of those years and deserved to be minimum of that. It's proven time after time that the defensive breakdowns in Utah aren't his fault necessarily in the playoffs. The criticism is that he can't score enough in the playoffs to make a difference otherwise. So if the defense isn't clicking, which is fair criticism. It's a criticism.
He's cooked on the perimeter too.
Well, he gets cooked on the perimeter by stars. Sure, everyone does, dude. Everyone gets, but he stays in front of average dudes, which is all you have to do in the NBA as a big man. It's highly overrated. In the playoffs, it matters, but he's their only defender, you know? Donnie, when he's locked in, he plays defense. Mike Conley was a defensive player when he still had his legs, you know? He can still stay in position, but he gets blown by. Royce O'Neal was their best defender, and he's not Herb Jones, you know? He's not that type of dude. Joe Ingles was fine, but he was ancient, and now he's out of there. Rudy Gobert is elite. Rudy Gay is good, and that's it. I think Jared Butler's got some defensive chops to him, but he's too young to get minutes. They don't have that defense. They've got a good systemic defense, but it's all Rudy. They could use a guy, you know. Like, what about? I don't know if you pair Sabonis with Rudy. That's probably dumb. Nah, never mind. That's a bad thought. That's a bad thought. He wouldn't fit with him offensively or defensively. I mean, everyone fits with them. But what about Toronto? You could see Toronto making a play, and they wouldn't have to overpay. You know, it's not Pascal or Scotty, but maybe it's OG Anunoby and
OG Anunoby. We say
Boucher and Malachi Flynn, and maybe a pick.
I don't know if I want to get rid of Malachi Flynn, dog. If I'm Toronto, I don't know.
Well, you got to listen. He's good, sure, but you've got Freddie, you've got Gary Trent Jr., Malachi, multiple guys. At some point, you're going to have to consolidate those assets.
Maybe so. You know, I understand it, but man, Malachi is really developing.
He is
into a great player.
I mean, if you want to sell on Fred and Gary Trent Jr. for more minutes for Malachi, I get that, but to turn down a trade for a guy just because you want to keep three guards together in the same room, you know? Like, if someone calls about Markelle Fultz, Orlando with Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony shouldn't be like, well, we can't just trade Markelle Fultz, you know?
Yeah.
But that'd be fun. I don't know. They're just a team that needs a center. Everyone needs a center. Boston could do it. Let's move on from this. I don't know how we devolve this, but Utah's going to a bad summer, I think. Those are game of the week. Do you have a team of the week?
Yes. Basically reiterating what I mentioned in my game of the week, I'm going to go with the Nets this week. Basically because, you know, if I was able to do a second favorite game of the week, it would have been Charlotte and Brooklyn on this past Tuesday night. Kyrie obviously going for 50 points on 15 for 19 shooting.
That was legit. Yeah,
50 points on less than 20 shot attempts. Like, that's super incredible. He was basically locked in from the beginning. And then also, you know, the game after the Philly game, you know, you have the New York battle, the Knicks and the Nets at home. KD drops 53 points in his home game. So it's like, you know, it was a good week for Nets fans, I must say, and you know, I'm definitely happy that, you know, they've been able to get the job done, especially after that bad loss to Boston last week.
Big shout out to the Nets, who are hopefully climbing out of the play-in. Honestly, if you're a top 2 team and you have to play Brooklyn in the first round, you're probably pissed. You know, it's the only reason I'm not upset about Milwaukee slipping out of the top 2 right now, close third. You know, get into the playoffs the way you should. Brooklyn,
man,
play a team.
That would be one hell of a first round. Brooklyn and Milwaukee.
Yeah, well, any of them. I mean, if it's not Milwaukee, if they stay in 7th or 8th, it would be either Milwaukee, Miami, or Philadelphia.
Okay,
Philadelphia, and at that point, any of those series for a first round is already an all-time first round matchup. Depending on how it goes, but assuming that Miami Brooklyn first round would be 7 games.
That would honestly. I mean, hell, even definitely Miami, Brooklyn, definitely Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philly. I think Philly's getting out here 5 games. I'm sorry.
I could see it, but it would still be the most dramatic of the matchups because it's Simmons versus Embiid, man.
That's true.
And if Philly loses, the salt would be so nice if Philly lost in a matchup between them. Even if Ben Simmons didn't do shit. Like, even if Ben Simmons didn't play and they lost, just proving it to James Harden would be something. Oh, man. Whew. That is his team of the week. My team of the week is his team, the Warriors. 3 straight. Beat the shit out of the Bucks on Sunday.
Shout out to Clay. Shout out to Clay.
38, baby. Best game since he's back, and he's back. You know, the Bucks are always going to give you threes. Jordan Poole was hitting them. Steph Curry had 8 points. He didn't need to do anything. We still got him. It's something that Budenholzer does. I'm going to do this for like 30 seconds. I don't know if you guys care. Budenholzer likes to focus on the superstar and let everyone else do stuff. We did it against Jokic like a month or two ago, and he destroyed us. Jokic destroys everyone, but he destroyed us, and we lost by 20, 30 the other day. Golden State. You focus on Steph, which is the dumbest fucking. I mean, you can only run box and one and shit like Nick Nurse when none of the other stars are on the court like it was during the Toronto series. But now you've got Jordan Poole. Now you've got Klay Thompson. Now you've got even Moses Moody. Jonathan Kuminga was doing stuff. Shout out to Kuminga. He's going to be something. He's going to be something. I'm excited about him. And this is just something that Budenholzer does, and he does it against the wrong teams, against the wrong players. You know, if you want to do that against Embiid, sure, that's fine. I'm cool with that. Jokic, he wants to pass out of that shit. He's going to find cutters for open space. And against the Warriors, they love to have everyone shooting. So just not awesome stuff by Bud, but he usually does save more complicated stuff for the playoffs, so I wouldn't expect it right away. Three straight.
Now that you mention it, honestly, I'm thinking of other games of the week that have just been incredible. That Golden State Denver game from past Thursday night was super incredible. Steph Curry just took over damn near that second half.
Yep.
There's a lot of great games this week, man. It's tough. It's tough to choose one.
It's ramping up, and you know why it's ramping up?
It's almost that time.
It's almost that time, but also the play-in game matters. The NBA wanted it to matter, and it matters. How many teams are actively losing games at this point? Like 3, 4 of them? Remember 2 years ago, and it was in March, not even April. In March of the season, teams just stopped playing their starters if they were in 9th or 10th.
That's true.
You know? And now everyone's trying to get 9th and 10th, and so that means 11th sometimes trying to – 9 and 10. That means 11 or 12 can even try and fight into it if it's a close battle, you know? And it's working. It's working. So the games are still exciting. The stars are still out there. It is a move that has paid off tenfold already for the NBA. Pretty cool. Team of the week, game of the week, that's it. Let's move on to Kyrie. It's a hot topic, but I'll briefly get some links going. So here's Shams. This is on Sunday. He says that Kyrie is expected to sit courtside to support his teammates at Nets Knicks. He's able to attend the game as a spectator, move freely, maskless, but cannot play due to private sector mandate. And then Twitter was in a frenzy, but let's get all the information out there first. Then the Nets are fined $50,000 for letting Kyrie in the home locker room after the game or during the game. This is from the New York Times. I'm assuming Stein is reporting on it, but maybe not. And the explanation of that comes from Woj, who says he's allowed to enter the arena, but not the workplace environment, and the locker room is considered part of the Nets' workplace environment at the Barclays Center. Ultimately, the NBA fined the Nets, not Kyrie, which is kind of important because if they fined Kyrie, it would have been hysterical on Twitter for the violation. Dray, I know you've been tweeting about Kyrie all season. I want to hear, what are your thoughts on this in general and with Kyrie going on?
To me, it's still honestly kind of confusing when you think about it. I mean, it's one thing to not allow him to play home games. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the rules are the rules. You know, if there's a vaccine mandate and you believe that since he's unvaccinated that he should not play, or that he should not play in the arena because there could be a possibility of anything, I understand that. But the thing that confuses me is that, you know, he's allowed to come in and sit on the sideline and support his team, but he's not allowed out there on the floor. He's not allowed in the locker room. I get, you know, you might want to protect the players or anything, but then again, it's like, you know, it's also a bad situation because other players who are unvaccinated on opposing teams can come in and play at the Barclays Center.
Right.
That's one thing that I just don't understand. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole politics of everything, but to me, it's just kind of a confusing thing because, you know, allowing Kyrie in the arena where he's maskless, not an issue whatsoever. Unvaccinated, maskless, can sit in attendance, no issue, but he can't play on the floor. I don't know. Honestly, I'm really excited to hear your opinion on it because I think we have it from two different point of views.
Yeah, I think in all fairness, the rules are confusing and they are a bit trivial. I understand that if you can be there, why can't you play? That's not necessarily the point, but the point that people make is that it is kind of dumb. And I agree with that. I don't necessarily think the solution is to let everybody do everybody, maybe even just restrict it even more at that point. But I get that that specific rule is confusing. And if you look at it like that, then yeah, it's dumb. My thing is, it's every week is a new thing, right? It's that some places are lifting the vaccine or the cases are down and that's why they should let Kyrie play. Or, the mayor is running for an election and he needs to get votes. He should, he's tweeted about the Knicks fucking 6 years ago. You seen that? People are like, the mayor of New York has like a tweet from like 6 years ago rooting for the Knicks, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's why he's not doing it because he's a Knicks fan." Shut the fuck up!
Everybody is so hilarious. That man does not know a lick of basketball. I guarantee you.
No, shut the fuck up. It doesn't matter. That's not the reason. And then he can sit courtside, but he can't play, or he can play on the road, or unvaccinated people can play. But every week there's a new reason to let him play, except for the mandate. It's just you just have to have the vaccine. Kyrie at the beginning of the season said it's his personal choice and it's his belief, however you feel about that, to sit out for the season to not get the vaccine. Okay, that hasn't changed. That rule hasn't changed. The way he's saying it is that I'm willing to not play until that is changed or I get the vaccine, which he wasn't going to get the vaccine. Well, it's not changed. So you said you were going to sit out. It's fine. You don't get to just be like, oh, here's a loop. I want to play because of this rule, or this is happening now, so I should be able to now. The rule's not changed. So until it's changed, you're going to sit out. Every week there's a reason to do it, and I'm just not seeing it.
That's the thing, though. Like, yeah. Sorry not to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's a rule, there's a rule. Like, I don't have a problem with him not playing at the Barclays Center. Of course, we all want him to play, but at the end of the day, if that's the rule of you must be vaccinated to be in the building, then you know what I'm saying, you got to understand it. But my problem is, why allow him in the arena sitting next to people maskless, where he may be at risk of getting others infected? Like that's just my issue with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes. if you can allow him in the arena, but you can't allow him in the workforce, you know what I'm saying, where he does work at and where he does in the team that he does play with, then I have an issue with it. But if you just don't allow him in the arena at all, then I would be fine with that.
So to answer that, I think the idea is, first, I understand that he can definitely be at risk of spreading it or getting it if he's maskless around a bunch of people. That's a lot of people's point, kind of, is that they probably shouldn't still be doing this unless you are fully vaccinated, because one person can set off the chain reaction, and he probably shouldn't do it at that point. But I think the mandate for employees is to decrease liability. If you force people to go to work and everyone gets COVID, maybe you're at risk of something because they got COVID at your place of work because you made them go to work. At the same time, if you're at like a basketball game, you're paying admission to do something, you have to go to work. And I believe on some level, people want to know that they're not going to get, fucking COVID at work. And like the vaccine mandate is supposed to, I guess, protect employees at that point. Just like make sure that there's a much more limited chance of exposure, which you can agree with or disagree with, but that's why it's in place for employees as opposed to the public.
I understand that. It's just I don't know. I mean, it's just all confusing though. Like, because my point of view is, I don't know. I can just look at it like, Kyrie's unvaccinated. He's maskless in the arena. Like, what if, somehow he gets affected or he spreads something, and then now next thing you know, the case. I don't know. I just view it from like crazy perspective, now next thing you know, cases are spreading like crazy, and then say the NBA has to postpone games. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that will happen. I'm speaking hypothetical, but that's just kind of how I would be with like if I were, head or like in charge of the arena or anything.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. Lost my train of thought, but it's complicated. He's not going to get the vaccine. Here's the thing. We're probably going to get past this thing without a lot of people getting vaccinated because we've had to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the fact of the matter is cases are going down because of the vaccination. So if we get out of this, it's going to be a direct result of the vaccine. Not that it's the only reason, but it's a big part of it,
Mm-hmm.
So we can get past this without him doing it. If you want to think he's however type of person because that choice affected a lot of people instead of the one person he claims to have, then that's fine. But the fact of the matter is we're probably going to get that through this without him getting vaccinated. So I guess it's no longer an issue of immediate public health. In terms of spreading it, unless it's a mutation that, and I don't know what I'm talking about here, but the mutations of the variant like Omicron and Delta variants have spread faster than anything else. So if you're vaccinated, unless it's that, which I don't think is going to happen, although it does happen in populated areas, so maybe New York, who knows? I don't think that's the point of him getting vaccinated at this point. I think it's more so that everyone's done it and that's why they're safe. So if we keep encouraging it, you can't make an exception just for Kyrie. So even if they let him play, sure, they let him play. But like if they let him play and he plays, he's going to play great and the Nets are going to play great and he's going to cement himself as a top 10 player as he always does.
Right. So this is my thing though, like for the Nets organization. So obviously, we're coming close to the playoff time. In my opinion, like if you're the Nets, you're gonna want Kyrie for like those,
right,
big home games. Particularly if they were, I mean, they're probably not gonna get home court advantage, but you never know. They may just be able to get it. So are they willing to take that risk and just say, you know what, like let's just let Kyrie play for however many home games that we have and pay those fines?
It's not. I've seen that it's not it's not an option. Paying the fines isn't an option. I think it's. I mean, I think it's like an actual rule, but not for a situation so public as the NBA. I don't think the NBA would ever allow them to directly contradict local law and pay fines. I don't think that's like even allowed. So I don't think it's an option at all for them. I'm sure they're hoping that Mayor Eric Adams, I think. Makes a decision on it, but if he plays, he's going to be great, and it's not going to matter in the long run that he's not vaccinated. But we don't have to pretend like he's this fucking hero. Like a lot of people are like, free Kyrie, free 11. Like, he took a stance on a personal opinion. That's fine, okay? On some level, I respect that. But we don't have to pretend like he's a martyr for some sort of cause that really doesn't exist. Okay, we can be annoyed that he can't play without idolizing him for sitting out. People have sat out for great reasons. Bill Russell, chief among them. I don't believe what Kyrie is doing is even in the same stratosphere.
No, it's not. But let me just say this though. With the whole free Kyrie thing, I will admit I am on that train, but it's mostly because I just feel like it's unfair if opponents who are unvaccinated can come in and play, but you're not allowing Kyrie to play. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's like, it's like I said, I don't want to get into the politics or anything, but there are people that say that Kyrie's more of a target. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and call him a target for the league, but it's like, when you look at it from those perspectives, like, you can kind of understand it.
I mean, it would have happened to Wiggins too, though. Like the same situation would be happening with Wiggins, but he got vaccinated. It's not just Kyrie. It just so happens that Kyrie's the only one that didn't get vaccinated in a city that he has to be.
Right.
And it turns out he's a huge star. But in terms of the unvaccinated players coming back, it's actually simple. It's dumb, but it's simple. It's a local law. It's a New York law upon New York employees. Only New York employees. They aren't allowed to make laws on non-New York employees because that's not their jurisdiction. So if an unvaccinated employee from another state comes to visit a friend, they don't have to be vaccinated. Or if they moonlight across the city kind of line, if they're not paid for that, I don't think they're going to be needing to be vaccinated. So they're just visitors, it's what they call them, home visitors. They're just visitors and they are playing a game. It sucks that that's the rule and that's how it works out for the NBA, but it only affects the NBA that way. We have to understand that. The NBA is not the center of the universe. This affects every single employee in New York. Now that it's not, it's only the private sector. But before that, it impacted every employee in New York, and it impacted them the same way. They couldn't go to work unless they got vaccinated, and their employees did too. There was no weird situation where people from different offices from like Indiana were coming to New York to like work in your thing and they weren't going to be vaccinated. This only applies in the sense of the NBA because they're coming from a state that doesn't require that vaccination. But it's only exclusive to the NBA. So there shouldn't be an exception to it just because we make a lot of money.
It's just all a crazy situation that I can just hope that we get out of. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, well, it's going to be, there's only a month to the playoffs. So either Kyrie plays in home games or we're going to see the first part-time player in the playoffs we've ever seen. And it's going to be exciting. I'll watch all of it.
Right. But also, just one more question. Like, if Kyrie isn't allowed to play those home games in the playoffs, like, would that be more pressure for a guy like Ben Simmons to, like, hurry and come back?
Yeah. Well, if he doesn't play by the playoffs, we are going to see a crazy, if he doesn't play this year, the NBA is going to get involved in that trade, I think, because there was really weird stuff going on with Philly during it. And if he's just out for ever, I don't know, man. I'm sure a physical cleared him, but this is if he doesn't play by the playoffs, we are looking at a serious issue of Ben Simmons ever playing the game of basketball again. At this point, because I don't think it would be physical at that point. But yeah, if Kyrie's out, you're right. It puts a lot more attention on him, and the defenses that they face will likely do that, where they send everything at KD. Because listen, open shot by Seth and Patty sucks. They're going to hit those threes probably, but not a lot of those dudes can run an offense and create something out of nothing like Kyrie Irving. So you just double triple up KD. If you're Toronto, you can do that easily. If they play him in a play-in, by the way, if they play him in a play-in game, they're not going to have Kyrie for either home or away. It's because Toronto, the entire country is under a vaccination.
Yep.
And Toronto's a great matchup for them already. That's a nightmare scenario for Brooklyn.
It's gonna get tricky over these next month or so.
Man, we didn't plan none of this, but we exploded into full-on Nets playoff talk. I love it. We'll see playoff Drummond. That'll be fun.
Playoff Drummond. Oh my God.
Because he's like that.
Honestly, man, let me give some praise to Drummond, man. Drummond,
sure.
Definitely, especially after last year, when he was the Lakers, he just looked cooked. I ain't gonna lie, he just looked cooked. But he seems like he's kind of rejuvenated himself. He had some slight moments, some pretty good moments in Philly, but his presence in not in Detroit. His presence in Brooklyn has been just super important for the team, especially, I don't know, I still believe in Nick Claxton, but Nick Claxton can just sometimes frustrate me sometimes. I don't know why. So,
well, the thing with Nick Claxton is that he didn't ask for this. He's 20 years old on one of the two best teams in the Eastern Conference when they're at their height.
Exactly.
He's not going to get those minutes because the second he does to do something that pisses you off, it pisses the coach off, and they pull him off. If he was in Orlando or hell, even in the Marvin Bagley role in Detroit, by the way, Marvin Bagley's doing stuff in Detroit, guys.
He is.
Not number 2 pick in a draft that involved Luka and Trey, Jaren Jackson, good. DeAndre Ayton, didn't mean to not include him, Suns fans. He's not doing that good, but he's doing stuff, which means he might be in the NBA longer, which is cool.
Sometimes you just need a relocation.
Yeah. So send Claxton. They got to trade him. They got 2 first-round picks. Trade Claxton and 2 firsts to a young team that could use a center for something cool in return. I don't know. Who could use a center? Toronto, but they're not going to trade with a direct competitor. Although they did with Miami. Remember that? Remember when they just gave one of their best players to Miami for Precious Achiuwa?
Yep.
Who was fine, by the way, not terrible. He's fine.
Who else needs a big?
Whoa, Karl Anthony Towns has fucking 56 3/4 right now.
Oh, that's nice. That's super nice.
Holy shit, man!
Shout out to the bigs. I mean, we just got an intense Jokic Embiid matchup, which Jokic got the head in that matchup, and now we got Cat dropping 56. You gotta love it.
He's the 3-point champion right
Is Cat
there.
the third best big? I believe so.
But... I mean, well, do you mean like full on center? Because if big, you're including Giannis, and then no.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, center. Let's go center.
If you have full on center, yeah, it's probably a tie between Embiid and Jokic. I'm not going to have that conversation. I don't care who you choose. They're on similar levels. They play the game a different way. And then right under that, probably Karl Anthony Towns.
Would you add?
I'd put
Bam Adebayo in that situation.
I'd put Bam in the 5, but I'd have to think about everyone else. Vucevic isn't in there anymore. He was never like a top 5, but you probably put Rudy somewhat in there if you're counting about impact. You know, that could be the 5. I'm not putting 8 in there yet.
Really?
He's not in top 5. I mean, playoff Aiden for the first few weeks of that was, but he didn't do that for the regular season, and he's still not doing it now. Like I'd still have. I mean, Mobley's going to be in that conversation in like a year, dude.
Mobley?
Mobley's going to be there. I mean, he's already top 10.
But is he a center though? Like, because a lot of people consider him a power forward.
Because they're playing him a power forward, and maybe if that impacts his perception of a center, but they're playing him a lot at center now because Jared Allen's out with injury, and he's playing. Yeah. I mean, his future is to be like the ultimate center, the ultimate like modern era center. It's at least defensively, and I think he's going to have a lot of offense to it too. That's a bad fucking man, dude. Let's do another rookie report card in one of these episodes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I honestly want to break down like my top 10 rookies.
Let's do it. Let's do it next episode.
We got to do it, definitely.
Yeah, let's do it next episode. Let's hit up some people, see if one person wants to hop in and share their list too. What were we talking about, though? Well, let's just finish up with that. We'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah, we were talking about top 5 bigs. Honestly, I want to say, since you mentioned Ayton, I'm kind of just trying to think in my head though, like who would I go? Would I go with Ayton? Would I go Bam? Obviously Bam for defense, but I don't know, man. I feel like Ayton just might slightly be a little more skilled offensively.
He is better offensively, easily than Bam. Bam, when he plays aggressively, can play well, but his shot has really faded since the bubble, just like Anthony Davis's. And he's never going to develop a 3-ball, which he doesn't have to, by the way. We always ask these players to, get like astronomically better when sometimes it's just not possible for them to do that. And Bam's just not going to have a shot. But defensively, I mean, he's top 3 defensive big in the league.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's him, Giannis, and Rudy. I think there's no. Jaren Jackson is coming though. By the way, Jaren Jackson is coming. That guy is going to be all defensive this year.
I said that this year is going to be a breakout year for him because a lot of people forgot. Because remember he was hurt for most of last year.
Right.
A lot of people forgot how good he was. Obviously, with John Morant doing his thing and everything. I was like, look, once Jaren Jackson Jr. comes back and he and Steven Adams have been a great compliment in the front court. A lot of people may not be paying attention, but they have been great together.
They really, really have. I love Jaren Jackson, man. It was always a question of whether he would get healthy or not. If he got healthy, we had hope that he would be something big. I think that's honestly it. I mean, you can throw Sabonis in there. You can throw even Brook Lopez in there, who's I think is underrated, and I think if he was on the
shout out to Brook
coming back, man. There's one more I was thinking of that I had on here. Oh, Jonas. You could put Jonas somewhere. Valanciunas was a top 10 big last year, probably.
I can see that.
All right, let's take a look-ski at the injury report. Let's look at good news number 1. Actually, no, let's save the big news for the end. Let's start with smaller ones like Anthony Simons, bad news, but not terrible news. The Blazers, this is Mark Stein. They say that Anthony Simons will miss at least 1 to 2 weeks. This was a few days ago, so still about a 1 to 2 week radius. After an MRI confirmed mild patellar tendinopathy in his left knee. It's not that big of a deal, but it just sucks for a Blazers team that's had injuries and for one of the brightest stars in the NBA since the trade deadline in Anthony Simons.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough blow for the Blazers, but I don't know. I mean, luckily it's not as significant as many thought it would be. So, for a guy like Anthony Simons to have such a great year who Honestly, I must say he might be my most improved player this year. As crazy as it is.
There hasn't been a lot of
people that have really
right. Twitter doesn't talk about most improved. I mean, six man has always been a couple of people too. So yeah, I can definitely see that. I think the NBA at this point should have a comeback player of the year award, like the NFL. Markelle Fultz would be an easy choice for that this year. And we're seeing it a lot more often, unfortunately, that guys come back.
I would put Boogie in that combo.
You can put Boogie in that shit, man. Hell, you can put Boogie in most improved. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm trying to think of most improved guys. I don't know. It's whenever you go on NBA Twitter, they say guys like John Morant. I don't see John Morant as the most improved player. I know that he's getting better with year by year, but he's not necessarily a most improved player. To me, the definition of most improved player is if you may have.
Oh no, it's easy. It's Kuzma.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh my God, Kuzma definitely been killing it this year. And I told people, look, all Kuzma needs is a relocation, which I believe will be the same thing once Taylor Horton-Tucker can somehow get out of LA, because Taylor Horton-Tucker stinks now. But if he goes to a new location, maybe I don't know, Detroit or whatever, I feel like he might be able to at least play a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But Kuzma has been a fucking monster. We'll do an award show soon because the regular season's wrapping up. So we'll do an award show where we're doing stuff. I'm sure we'll have Kuzma at the top, if not close to the top of the most improved. I'm excited to see what Washington does this offseason, and we will talk about what they might do rumored in a little bit. But let's finish off let's keep going with the injury report. A little bit of good news. Dillon Brooks has been out for what feels like a lot of the season, right?
Yeah,
an early injury, played a little bit, and now he's been out for since before the All-Star break. He's expected to return in the upcoming road trip. I don't believe he's played just yet, but another addition to the dogs that are the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't know, just good news for them. I mean, they're third. I think they're second again in the Western Conference.
Honestly, this is really good news, especially at the right time. As the Grizzlies are, one of the top teams in the Western Conference. Getting a guy like Dillon Brooks, who was a great two-way player, back in that backcourt alongside John Morant, you couldn't ask for anything better, in my opinion.
All right, injury report, trigger warning. This is gross. Fucking John Collins. He's playing with that.
That's nasty.
He's playing with that. There's this article from The Athletic. I'll pull it up real quick. That talks about, this is Chris Kirschner, who wrote it. It's talking about that picture and just that they're playing with it. But if he keeps playing with it, it's not going to heal, and he's probably going to just do a lot of damage to it. And the Hawks are scraping. They are scraping for a play-in spot, and they might
it's
just
been
not
a struggle.
Get it.
And even tonight they're getting cooked. Well, actually, I haven't checked the score, but
let me check right now.
But by the end of the first half, they were getting cooked by Portland, I believe.
They beat Portland by 9 at the end of it, but they gave up 113 to that Portland team.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Atlanta's. I'll be honest. Atlanta's definitely been disappointing for me. I mean, no disrespect to me. I know that Trae Young has been doing his thing this year, but they have just been super inconsistent. I know they've had different lineup rotations, but defensively, they've just been super inconsistent this year. And it's just a terrible thing to see, honestly. But hopefully, they'll still be able to get into that. Wait, where exactly? I think they're 9 right now, or 10.
No, they're the Hawks.
Yeah.
No, they're behind that, man. They've been trying, I think. Let me see.
I know they can't be. I know they can't be behind New York.
Oh no, they're 9th. I'm tripping. Okay. They're in the race right now.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I was thinking. But also, I want to give a quick shout out to definitely. I want to give a quick shout out to my brother Pat Benson, who's covering the Hawks right now.
PBJ.
Shout out to Pat. Shout out to Pat, man. We got to get you on the show. I'm definitely going to hit you up, man. We definitely got to get you on for a Hawks episode.
He's coming soon.
Definitely.
You've been talking about him for a second. He's going to come on.
Definitely.
And talk about Hawks, because I'm excited to hear about this, but also the implications of the offseason. They've got guys that they can trade, and I'm sure they're going to make a play for somebody big. But let's save that for a PB&J episode with Pat Benson Jr. Let's take a look at some more good news. Caruso's back. He played the other night. Isn't that fucking sick? Yeah.
I love it, man. Caruso is really just my guy, man. I don't know why. I just love that guy so much because obviously, the narrative was just, he was a bald white guy in LA. And I think now, like this year, especially like early this year, I don't know why, but idiots are finally understanding that this guy can really play basketball.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he didn't get injured, I would say he could be a defensive player of the year candidate. And that's a hot take.
That is a pretty hot take, man. God damn.
That's a hot take, and I'm gonna stick with it. I'm rolling with it. I don't care. People may disagree.
We'll tweet that one out. Some good news. Last G League game for James Wiseman is 19 points, 14 rebounds, 2 blocks, 5 turnovers. 8 for 17, made a 3, and a +4. That's pretty fucking good, huh?
That's really good. Shout out to James Wiseman. I'm just happy to hear some news because for a while we have been like even people like outside everybody knows me as a diehard Warriors fan. Everybody's like, what's up with Wiseman? What's up with Wiseman? I'm like, I have heard nothing about Wiseman. I have heard nothing about him. We've obviously heard about Draymond and his injuries. We've never heard anything about Wiseman. So to hear about Wiseman, going to the G League, doing his thing. I mean, it's just really a great sight to see, and hopefully he can just stay healthy closer to playoff time because I don't know exactly where Steve Kerr is going to put him now. I can honestly assume that he'll probably be just a second unit player for right now, but hopefully as the playoffs arrive, he'll be able to get those starting minutes.
Caruso, I mean, he was on track 100% for an old defensive team, and he might still make one. I think he's probably out of it with the missed games at this point, but he came back and changed their defense already. All right, I'm going to trauma dump on you guys. We're going to do a couple of sad newses in a row, and then I'm going to give you guys the great news at the end of it. All right, let's start with Brandon Ingram. Not too bad news, but New Orleans, who's been hot lately, dealt with more injury news. He's going to be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days. It's been about 5 since then. He hasn't been reevaluated yet. From Crispy Haynes, it is a mild strain of the right hamstring, and you got to be careful about the hamstrings. We've seen it with James Harden, among many other players. They kill you, so you cannot come back early from them.
This is a bad blow in my opinion for New Orleans, especially considering after the McCollum trade they've been on a great streak. And then on top of that, you get news that Zion could be coming back. So now you're thinking of the 3-headed monster in New Orleans with CJ, Zion, Brandon Ingram, and now Ingram goes out. So I'm just hoping that it's not as significant as it may be, and hopefully he'll be able to come back soon. I don't know.
Yeah, it's 7 to 10 days. It's that mild as well, so it doesn't seem too much. But boy, do hamstring injuries make me nervous.
That's the thing.
I really hope
those are really lingering injuries that people don't know about. It's crazy.
Bad news, my boy. I was a huge fan of the buyout pickup. Bucks guard forward. This is from Woj. DeAndre Bembry is feared to have suffered a season-ending right knee injury. It turns out it was a right knee ACL and MCL tear. I saw the play. I was watching it live. It didn't look great. He contested a 3 and landed on the guy's foot and trying not to twist his ankle, landed weird on his knee, and it just looked pretty bad. It sucks. Big shouts to DeAndre Bembry, who came over to the Bucks just a couple of weeks ago, played some great defense. Not a lot of offense, but he played some great defense. Was looking to take Wes Matthews minutes and is not going to now. We have heard plans of how they're going to adjust the roster, but for now, we'll talk about that later. Just wanted to give a shout out to Bembry. Hope he's doing
shout to Bembry, man. Get back soon, hopefully.
And then our sweet boy, Cam Reddish, out for the season with a right shoulder separation. Now, the good news is that 6-week recovery, so it wouldn't have been a full season if it was earlier in the year. It just so happens it's the end of the year that he gets the injury. So he gets a full summer, they say, that he'll be fine to work out and get ready for the 2022-23 season. But can we catch a fucking break, man? I mean, we've been trying to get him in the rotation for a minute now, and he finally got some run. He was looking all right. I'm not going to say he was blowing the doors off of anybody, but give us a break.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to say I'm kind of nervous about the future of Cam Reddish. Now, it's not because he can't play, but his injury history has been there, I must say. And, during his time in New York, I was definitely upset that, he wasn't getting the proper minutes. And while he was getting those limited minutes, he was showing some good signs. But now, now that he's set back with his injury, you just kind of wonder, what's next for him in the NBA at this point. I still think that he can be utilized by any team, but will any GM possibly see that future and still see that talent?
I think they will. I just he needs a spot to be able to play. A shitty team that doesn't care, that he can just chuck up shots and learn, like Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. are doing in Houston right now. What Shai Gilgeous-Alexander learned to do and is now the elite player we're seeing in OKC. But he's not being given that time. And we honestly thought he would get it in New York. I mean, there was the issues with Tibbs, but they needed talent, and he was a young talent, the thing they needed. And they just didn't play him. We didn't give him a shot. Let's end with good news. I got good news. We've been teasing this, but 2 contenders are getting reinforcements, and they've got reinforcements. Let's start with the Golden State Warriors. It's Dray Day, but it's also Kuminga Day. Let's see it right now. Here's a live update. The Warriors are up 8 on the Wizards with 5 minutes left in the second quarter, and Kuminga's played 12 minutes. He's 2 for 3 from the field. His only miss is a 3. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal and a block. He's a +1. Solid. It's okay. Dray's played 6.5 minutes, so they're bringing him along slowly. He's made a shot, which was a 3, and he's got a rebound and 3 assists, and he's +7 in a game they're up by 8 in 6.5 minutes. That's Dray, man. Good, big shout out to Dray. And our local day, that was a hard way to get it out, but you're a Warriors fan, man. How does this feel, and how does this make you feel about the title run? How are you thinking?
This is great, honestly. If you've watched the Warriors over the past few weeks, we have stunk without Draymond. We need that defensive presence.
That's true.
Particularly, I want to go into the game against the Lakers because we gave up just so many easy transition baskets. We just gave so many offensive rebounds. The Warriors have just been struggling. We just lost that defensive identity. I mean, we know that Klay is back. Klay is still trying to find his rhythm with the team. Obviously, we still have Steph, but we definitely needed that defensive identity. So now that Dray is back, I know that he's limited right now, and hopefully he can be limited for the next few weeks or so because we definitely need him as the playoffs arrive. This gives myself and Warriors fans just a lot of optimism for what can occur. I mean, we know that Phoenix is up there, we know that Memphis is up there, Utah, you name it out west. But when we have the 3-headed monster and Steph, Klay, and Draymond in our championship experience, like that can carry us the long way, alongside great players like Kuminga, you mentioned, Jordan Poole,
man.
Yes, definitely. And then, of course, Wiseman's coming back. It is a good time for us to be optimistic.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I'm very excited to see the final product on the floor, especially what Wiseman's role ends up being, because I think he can be valuable in matchups with huge guys like Ayton and Jokic. Not that he's going to lock them down by any means, but it's another guy to throw on the boards. You need to rebound in these games, and he's going to be able to help you somewhat there, at least. I know he's somewhat allergic to rebounds, but he's bigger than anyone else you got. You don't want to have Looney out there for 30 minutes.
Oh, my God. Like, I love Looney, man. I love that guy, but he's too undersized. I'm sorry. Too undersized, no athleticism. I love him to death. He's a great defender, but please, let's slowly get him to the second unit. Please.
Yeah, or go small as well. I think a lot of the minutes that Kuminga figured to play are going to go to Wiseman at this point, who's just been phenomenal. Let's move on to the other contender getting reinforcements. Our teams are always in the conversation. I really appreciate that. It allows us to offer our perspectives as watching them often enough. The Bucks, baby. We got Brook, who's played 1 game this season, 1-0 with Brook Lopez, the first game of the season against the Brooklyn Nets. He was out with a back injury. About 3 months later, got back surgery. And about 3 months after that, we are now where he is returned from the back surgery. He's only played 4.5 minutes. They're going to bring him about very, very slowly. He's 1 for 3, all of them threes. A steal, and he's +5 in a game that the Bucks lead by 8 right now with 4 minutes in the second quarter. And then we've got George Hill. I don't know if Hill's even... Yeah, George Hill's got 6.5 minutes. He hasn't taken a shot.
Yep, he's playing now.
Yeah, rebound, 2 assists. You watching it? It's on ESPN. He's a +4, so George Hill would be the Bucks, who lost someone for the season, DeAndre Bembry, are getting 2 guys back. And Pat Connaughton was taking corner threes in his warm-up today, so it looks like that finger is getting a whole lot better. Like you said, it is an optimistic time for Bucks fans. I think we just got our asses handed to us by Golden State. But even if you are worried about that matchup, it would only ever happen in the finals, man. We've had good games against Brooklyn. We've had good games against Miami. We've had good games against Chicago. And we've had good games against Philly. Okay? You are confident in your ability to beat them. And now you've got the guy who's probably your 4th best player in the playoffs last year back in Brook Lopez. George Hill, who's going to soak up some of those bench minutes, especially gone from Bembry. Pat Connaughton, who's sniper all season, coming back. If they're healthy into the playoffs, then the team to beat.
Yeah, honestly, just looking through like the course of the season, I guess I'm not going to say I never knew that Brook was important, but when you watch the Bucks through the course of the season without him, you realize how big his presence is on the floor. Just being able to protect the rim, being able to rebound, being able to stress the floor and knock down 3-point shots. All of that is needed, especially when you're playing alongside a guy like Giannis. I mean, I know they got Bobby Portis, I know they got Serge Ibaka, but I just feel like Brook is a great compliment to a guy like Giannis in that front court, in my opinion.
I think Brook is like the 3rd best natural center on defense. With the drop coverage specifically, I think it's Bam, Rudy, and him. Honestly,
I can see that.
I think Embiid has more of an impact offensively, obviously, but he doesn't run like a sophisticated drop coverage. He's running some more other. He's running like a drop, but also it's just like the rim protection, the massiveness that he's providing out there.
Right.
Brook, and then the thing is, he's overqualified. He's cast as his 3 and D, and emphasis on D, even though he does hit the 3 center. And then if Giannis is out, say in the playoffs, he becomes this guy who is the franchise leader in Brooklyn Nets points, leads the entire franchise, and he can drop a 33 on an Atlanta when needed. That's why he needs to be overqualified, and hopefully he's still up to it. If he's healthy, you gotta watch out. If you're a team that likes to muscle, we got a whole lot of muscle now too with Brook Lopez. I'm very excited for it. I'll probably watch it after we're done recording. That's it for good news, bad news. Let's head on over to Rumorville, both involving Washington. This is a rumor about John Wall. He would welcome a return to the team that took him number 1 overall in 2010. And I believe that was David Aldridge that reported that. And apparently a source said that's true. I crunched the numbers, by the way, and I don't know if they can make a trade for him without Kristaps. So I don't know if they would include Kristaps in that deal or if it would be a 3-team deal. I'm really not sure, but I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. What do you think? If they keep Beal, I would imagine they wouldn't do this if they didn't keep Beal. How would you feel about this?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, in my opinion, if you are looking to bring Wall back, you should definitely try to keep Beal. And at this point, honestly, like, even though John Wall hasn't played in over a year, I still feel like he has a lot of great value. And obviously, he's really built something for himself in Washington. Honestly, like, I would love that though. Like John Wall, Bradley Beal, Kuzma. Do they keep Porzingis?
So I don't think they can, and I don't think he's going to get bought out by Houston. Maybe he would, but I think he's got like another year after this one. Like, I don't think it's just the next year that he has. So I don't know if a buyout's really looming, but if it's a trade, I think they have to include Kristaps. But you can keep Gafford. I mean, I assume you have to attach something else beyond Kristaps, like. I don't think you have to give up a young guy, but maybe a couple seconds or a pick or something. But you still got Denny. You've still got Rui. I would love to see Rui in that lineup. You still have KCP, who's a good vet if you still want to play him. And then Gafford is, I mean, Wall never had a Gafford. Wall had
I know he had Gortat and Nene, but
he had Gortat and Nene who were good, but I don't think they were like athletic necessarily.
No, not like
Nene maybe originally in his career, but he was still more of a Kenneth Faried type. Daniel Gafford is a pick and roll, and he rolls hard to the rim point guard. I mean, Wall had some chemistry with Wood, So we'll see. I'd like it. I just think for the drama and the this league always does dramatic things, and I love it. For him to only play for Houston for like half a season, so it's almost like he never really left the Wizards, would be an awesome way for this to play out, I think. And that team is nice. If Wall is something, Wall, Beal, let's say Rui, Kyle Kuzma, and Daniel Gafford, it's probably better than some of those prime Wall teams.
Oh yeah, definitely. In my opinion, like when you look at the combination of the talent that they have, and you add John Wall to that mixture, like this team, in my opinion, this team is definitely like at least like the 7th seed, like in that playing spot.
Yeah. I can see it higher depending on the type of year that Bradley Beal or John Wall are having. It all hinges on them, of course. But honestly, like Kyle Kuzma is probably their third star in those years was Otto Porter. Kyle Kuzma's better than that, at least offensively,
Right.
So that's already a third guy that's kind of fun for them. This is another one that, the Wall thing wouldn't happen if this happened, but this is from Andrew Bogut, so he's not a real source. But I've heard it talked about in several podcasts. People are talking about it. Pretty big rumor that Brad Beal is trying to get to Philadelphia in the offseason to team up with James Harden and Embiid. I can get into the numbers in a minute of how that would work, but off rip, what do you think about that, Dray?
I don't know if I'm really a big fan of it. I mean, obviously, Bill would definitely bring a lot of scoring to that team, but I don't know how he really benefits besides that. And plus, I feel like if you do trade for Beal, then Maxey would unfortunately be a part of that trade.
So first thing, I think they could do it without trading Maxey.
Yeah, but that's the thing though as well. Though, like, does that take away from his development?
So there's that for sure. That's a very valid point. Just to point it out, I believe from what I've seen and what I've read, which is a really vague way, but people have talked about how they could trade Tobias and a couple of other things and get like close to max money. Not necessarily a full max slot, but close to max money. And if it's to join a super team, Bradley Beal I would assume would take close to max money. Like you said with Tyrese, I don't necessarily agree with it, although maybe if you trade Tyrese for something else that fits with them, like a defensive guy that plays on the wing,
Right.
If you can pull off something like that, maybe. But yes, you would be concerned about that. It would get Tobias the hell away from that team, at least. Although I think they're going to trade him regardless of what happens, man. They're going to trade him regardless.
They need to, man. I love Tobias. I love that guy.
Hey, Tobias is going to get traded to like an OKC, spend a year there doing nothing, and then get bought out and be like a really good buyout player.
It's going to be another Al Horford. It seems like.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to help out. I promise Tobias is going to help out to a team in the frame, but it's not going to be Philly because Philly is done with him. I don't necessarily get the fit either, but I will say once you're in the playoffs, pick and roll between Harden and Embiid is pretty unstoppable. Pick and roll between Beal and Embiid is pretty unstoppable. If you run Harden and Embiid with Beal in the strong corner, that's like an unstoppable 3-on-3 game. So I understand that, like, once you get to the playoffs, it wouldn't have as much longevity in the regular season, but I don't think they would care. Like, Brooklyn doesn't care what their seed is. They still have some of the best scorers on the planet. So I don't think they would care about that. I think there's better players. Like, I would stock up on a defensive player if you do a third star, but whatever. We went out and got Drew Holiday. That's where the bias comes from. You got Drew Holiday, and look at that. Everything fucking changed. But they could do it. I think the NBA, they were talking about opening an investigation on this trade because of the James Harden not picking up his option thing. Because if he doesn't take it and they trade Tobias, they can sign Harden and Beal. But if he opts in, I think they can. So I don't know, man. They might investigate it.
I feel like Beal's ties are too much in Washington. I mean, it'll be great to want to see him, go to a contender, but I just feel like he would not want to get out of Washington.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. It would be really cool if he stayed there, especially with him not giving him a contender, but like a fun team with Kuzma and Gafford, namely of those guys that I really like.
Right.
But if he would go anywhere, it'd probably be Philly. I think at this point, if the only place I could sign him with cap space is Philly. I think that's it for there. Let's go to the plug zone and start wrapping this thing up. It's not as long as our other ones, which is totally fine. But Dre, you got an article or something of the week for us at all?
Yeah, shout out to my brother Brandon Blanco, who is one of the newest writers, I believe, on Sir Charles in Charge, wrote an article, I believe a week ago. I believe it was a week ago on the Chicago Bulls, and the state of the Bulls, and what's next for them. So yeah, shout out to him. I'll definitely have to send that over to you.
That'll be tweeted out from our account. You guys see it every week at HOOOOOP Truther Pod. It's on the screen right now. We always tweet out the fave picks, whether we've got articles, videos, or podcasts that we want to plug and show out people. You mentioned where the Chicago Bulls go from here. I've got the legend Caitlin Cooper with a similar article on the Pacers. She's got growth charts for every Pacer under 25, details on every single one, which I'm so intrigued with the Pacers' future. You've got Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Duarte, Isaiah Jackson. Miles Turner's only 25. Buddy Hield is there. I don't know if he counts, but he's there. It's fun. Goga's out there. He's potentially something. I don't know if he is. Malcolm Brogdon, who's probably going to get traded in the offseason. I'm so intrigued of where they go from here and what their team is, because we all love Reese. I know we love Reese, and him and Duarte is a good beginning to something. Jalen Smith, too, if they re-sign him in the offseason. Check out the article. Just check it out.
You have to. I'm definitely going to check it out. Caitlin's one of the best at dissecting the game, really knowledgeable. Yeah. So, yeah, shout out to her.
Shout out to Caitlin, always doing great stuff. Final thoughts. You got anything for us, Dre? I got a couple small things.
I think I'm good.
AD said the Suns got lucky that they got hurt. What do you say?
I will say that his injury did play a huge role in why the series changed around, because you got to remember that they were up 2-1, and then I believe they were winning in the first half of Game 4 before AD had gotten injured. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a close call. I mean, if you want to name it, because I mean, the Suns were on a hot streak at that time as well.
Chris Paul also hurt his arm in that series, so it's not like Phoenix was fully healthy. You guys got to chill out. And honestly, that's big talk, but do it. Let's see let's see Phoenix and LA go to this year. If LA beats them, that'd be a crazy thing, but it'd be an upset. All right, everyone fully expects them to beat the shit out of the Lakers at this point. It doesn't matter what happened last year. Brooklyn fans are going to talk about forever about KD's foot on the line, Kyrie's injury, Harden's injury. You know what? You guys had KD, Harden, and Kyrie, and never did shit with it. You might do it with KD and Kyrie, but it doesn't matter anymore. That's last year. It's changed entirely since last year. It was 1 year. It's done. It's completely done.
Exactly.
So move on, man. Phoenix is where you guys should be if you hold yourself to a standard. Last thing here, we talked about the Bembry injury. Tyreke Evans has signed a deal with the Milwaukee Bucks G League unit, the Wisconsin Herd. They're going to let him play a couple of games there, and the idea is if he performs, they'll bring him up to the squad. I'm a huge fan of it. I just want fun, and that's fun. Tyreke Evans in Milwaukee as a Buck is fun, man.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Tyrese Maxey, who's finally getting that opportunity again. Whether it's in the league or in G League, just being able to play the game that he loves again, I'm definitely happy for him.
Big shout out. I'm going to be watching some of the G League clips when that comes out, because I'm excited to see how he looks, and then I hope he gets brought up to the big leagues, man. We already got Boogie Buck Boogie this year. I want some Boogie Tyreke Evans as well, all right? That's about it for us at the Hoop Truther Pod. Nothing from me this week. I have to write. I haven't written in a hot second, but it's all right. It's coming. Check me out at Goosifer, at _Goosifer. That's Lucifer with a G if you care. And Dre, plug your shit, man. What you got?
Besides my last article on Donis Hollyman, nothing major. I'm still kind of quiet. I am actually in the works on the Jabari Smith Jr. article. If you know me, I believe that he is the #1 overall pick, but yeah, I'm probably gonna hold on that just for a minute. I'm gonna see what happens in the tournament, and then afterwards, then we'll get it.
We gotta like we just talk about future episodes on this podcast, but we gotta bring in somebody to give us a little bit of an idea of these draft guys too, because I don't really pay much attention to the draft guy.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll watch March Madness, but
man, I would love to get my guy Robel. I don't know if I can find him somehow.
Oh no, man, he's off. Yeah, good for him, man. He got out.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, man, shout out to Robel. I mean, I think Robel got a job with the Grizzlies, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the Grizzlies, yeah.
Yes, man. He was super dope YouTuber, dissected almost every single player in each draft. Yeah, shout out to him. I'm definitely happy for him that, he's able to continue to cover the game that he loves.
That shit was crazy. Big shout out to Robel. All right, guys, check us out on all the platforms: Apple, Spotify, every audio platform you can find us at. Check us out on YouTube. That's HOOOOOP Truthers Studios on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
Give us a subscribe. Give us a like. All platforms. You want to watch our pretty faces. You want to listen to our pretty voices. You got options for that. We will catch you next week with another episode where we will at least cover the top 10 rookies. All right?
That's a fact. Get ready.
See you guys. Yes, get ready. See you guys next week. Deuces.